BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Hey, think you know your stuff? Get in on the $200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week. Your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. Now, when the game's over, go to their online casino, get in on the game of blackjack or poker or over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. As we welcome you to another edition of Bleav in Giants, Bob Papa, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Carl Banks, and, Giant land, Giant fans, Giant media, Giant ownership and management and everybody trying to digest this frustrating loss to the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night because, Carl, as I said on the post-game show, when you think about the games last year, cover zero, blitzing, corners injured, just getting torched by Brandon Cooks and all those guys, and even getting run over on opening night, that was bad, but there was a talent discrepancy. Mm-hmm. This loss, I think, stings even more because anybody watching this game, including Cowboys fans, realize this is a very flawed Cowboy team as compared to the teams of the last couple of years. And if the Giants were going to snap this streak, last night was kind of the night to do it. Yet again, too many mistakes in a lot of different areas lead to a frustrating loss rather than an exhilarating, momentum-building win.
Sure. You're exactly right, Bob. My summation, and we'll get into everything that leads to this, is that this team has to learn how to win football games. And because there's a few things that were notable, right? And I think the coach talked about it. They competed, right? They did a lot of things well, but the things that they needed when they needed them, they did not. There's no such thing, especially consumer facing or fan base facing, as a feel-good loss or a moral victory. You just can't put that out there. And I say that because from an internal standpoint, I don't think they feel that it's a moral victory or a feel-good loss. But there are some things that they're going to look at and say, if we continue to do this, this will travel and we'll have a chance. But in order to continue to do that, you've got to clean up or do the other little things in order for that to be a victory. The young defensive backfield that they put out there, my biggest concern going into this game, it was going to be a bunch of blown coverages and they were going to be turning people loose. That didn't happen. Cordell Flott played another really good game. Now he's starting to stack them. Now he's showing consistency. You didn't see blown coverages. Now, guys might have gotten beat, but they didn't have guys running all over the place, and they played 3 rookie cornerbacks, or 2 of the 3 out there didn't have any playing experience. But they did good. In terms of assignment football, Nubin on the big play to CeeDee Lamb, it shouldn't have been a touchdown. It was going to be a big play, but Nubin took a bad angle. And those are growing pains that you can live with if you're winning. You can't live with them when you're losing. You just say, okay, take a better angle or we can stop this play. Offensively, their pass protection was phenomenal. Their run blocking was the least good thing that they did the entire game. They should have been able to run the football, and they didn't. I think they got discouraged, and I don't think they're happy about that, meaning to a man on that offensive line, because Dallas put all those guys into the line of scrimmage. They still should have been able to block them, and they couldn't. Yet the offense still dominated in time of possession. So there are a lot of pieces that if you won ugly, you feel great going to Seattle. But because you lost, it's like, okay, when are we going to put all this together? And that is the question now that's kind of lingering with the fan base. I think the team, and again, consumer facing, fan facing, they don't want to hear any of this. They see what they see, and I can't, nobody, nor should I, want them to see anything different than what they're seeing, right? And that's a team that's losing. But if I'm putting on, the guy who's been in the locker room hat, I would say to those guys, here are the reasons you lost. Not because you weren't good enough, but this right here, quarterback, you've got to connect on free plays. You got to connect on deep balls. When your wide receiver is open, you got to hit them in stride, right? Wide receivers. When you have these must-have situations, you got to help your quarterback out. If the ball hits you in the hands, you got to catch it in key situations. Defensively, yeah, you held them to 3-point-something yards a carry, but I think you shouldn't be too happy about it because Dallas ran the ball effectively in terms of what they needed to get done. They knew they weren't going to run the ball for a ton of yards. They ran it when they needed to stay on schedule, and their run game kept them on schedule. And you can look at the film and you can say, well, man, the Giants had a lot of tackles for loss. Sure they did. But when Dallas needed to keep the chains moving, they got what they needed out of their run game. So you did not deter them or discourage them from doing what they needed to do. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, after Neighbors dropped the 4th down pass, and look, it was a tough play, and Diggs was all over him. Jones is scrambling, puts it right on the only place you could put it where your guy has a chance to make the play. And unfortunately, Neighbors, as he went to the ground, the ball came out. In a big spot, you got to make the play, but you can't really throw shade at Neighbors. So that's with 3:30 to go in the game. You don't let Elliott go for 7 on 1st down, 2 more, and then Lipke, 2 more after that. Because now you're burning timeouts and
Sure.
they're still getting a 1st down. So you only had 2 timeouts remaining, and you used 2 of them and you gave up a 1st down. It made you dead man walking at that point.
Yeah.
So to your point, yeah, the numbers are good, but I don't think the effectiveness of the defense, the run defense, was good when it mattered the most. Let's talk about Jones and the deep ball, okay?
Okay.
Because there are some people I'm reading about his all the injuries, his arm is shot. He can't get the ball deep. Now, I was doing a show on Sirius XM NFL Radio with Matt Sims, who also has a podcast here on Bleav, with his father. And I asked him about it. And do you think? He's like, no. He goes, I think his deep ball, he's got a little bit of a technique issue a little bit. And Carl, you made a good point as we were getting ready to record this. The shot arm theory would only count if all the balls are underthrown.
Mm-hmm.
But as you pointed out, right? I'll let you tell the point that you told me.
He's got his fair share of overthrows on deep balls as well. Cleveland with Jalen Hyatt running an over route. The same over route that he underthrew last night, he overthrew to Jalen Hyatt in Cleveland. He overthrew sideline routes in Cleveland. So it's not a matter, I would be concerned if his arm looked dead or if it's just the ball just doesn't have any juice on it. I think, and you can tell me what the experts that are quarterbacks and guys who teach quarterbacks told you, but I think it's almost like a trust in his deep ball. And I think it's going to get there, but it's got to get there sooner than later, because the other parts of Daniel, if I had to use a basketball analogy, his short and mid-range game is exactly where you want it to be. His three-pointers are not calibrated. And he's a guy who can shoot three-pointers, right? So my thing is, as he's progressing, and again, he's got to hit the shots. I'm not making any excuses for these footballs, but I want to try to make it make sense to folks who have turned on their TV and heard a former general manager say he's got no arm strength, or, all these other things that are just out there. He's got arm strength. He's got to get it calibrated. Again, the things that people said he couldn't do from a short game to mid-range game, he's doing that effectively and consistently. His deep balls are all over the place. They're long, they're short. If I were his basketball coach, I would say to him, go in for the next 3 days and just shoot three-pointers until you get a feel for how it's supposed to be. And I would tell him today, if I saw him, I would tell him, don't pick up a don't pick up a football. Go in the gym and just shoot three-pointers until you get a feel for the distance of what you want to do. Because I think it's more of a confidence thing. And there are some mechanics that are involved in that, but you trust your mechanics when you have the confidence that you can do certain things. And I think he's not trusting mechanics because you can see, the ball to Neighbors, when Neighbors was open, it almost seemed like he said, I can't overthrow this. Let me just make sure I put it out there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like.
It just says he looked like he just wanted to lob it up there to make sure he caught the football, more so than just trusting the mechanics, letting it go and hitting them in stride, right? There's again, in my assessment, and again, folks, I'm not making any excuses other than the fact that he's got to make those plays. But if we're to the phase of Daniel Jones can't throw a deep ball, I think we've come a long way since this offseason when people said he's a one-read quarterback, or he can't read defenses, or he can't hold a safety. He's doing all of those things. He's got to be able now to hit the three-pointer. His mid-range game, his short game, they're doing all that really well. He's moving the offense. He's making great decisions. Now he's got to trust his mechanics.
In a golf terminology, because I work a lot of golf, it's almost as if and much sooner rather than later, he's got to hit one and let it go and hit one. Because it's like when you're playing golf and you just can't make a putt. You're giving yourself opportunity after opportunity to make birdie, and not us recreationally. But when you watch the PGA Tour, the PGA Tour champions, and you see guys knocking down flag sticks, and whether it's a 6-footer, an 8-footer, a 12-footer, it wears on the guys. And sometimes it spills over to the rest of their game because now they feel they got to hit it to like a foot because they ain't making anything. And sometimes what happens with those guys is they don't hit one close and they drain a 35-footer, and it kind of takes the seal off and frees them up. And it feels like he needs to hit one of these at some point to maybe free him up. And he hasn't been able to hit it. And the play to, and again, they're not explosive enough offensively to let these opportunities slip by. There's certain teams in the league, they may miss one, when two is healthy and they got Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and he might miss one deep ball and overthrow him, but he knows he's going to get a bunch more chances with the two guys in the game. The Giants don't get that many chances. So when Lawson jumps offside and you see the flag come up, and the Peyton Mannings, the Aaron Rodgers, the Eli's, all those guys at the top quarter make you pay. Like that one's got to be, oh, you got to hit that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't just take the offside penalty when, hey, it's one thing to take the offside penalty and throw a jump ball to a guy that's covered.
Sure.
But it's another thing when the guy's open.
Yeah.
And you don't hit it.
This is all a matter of trusting his own mechanics, because if you look at that play, when it was almost as if he was trying to decide whether he wanted to throw it or the play was going to be stopped. And it's like, you just got to rear up and let it go. That's free food. Let it go. But it seemed like there was kind of this hesitation. And we say all of these things because these are the things that would have helped the Giants win the football game. And yet he did so many things well in running this Giants offense. So he's not the reason why they lost. I think collectively they are the reason why they lost, right?
Yeah, he's part of the team. It was a team loss, man.
And they all have something. Yeah, you can point to just every single one of them. It's every single phase of this team and point to areas where you say this is where the game could have been won. So we say these things as it relates to Daniel Jones. It's the next thing that he's got to get fixed, but he's got to get it now because he's got players that he can hit shots with, but he's got to trust that mechanics. And again, I tell him, go Saturday and Sunday, go to the gym, pick up a basketball and just shoot 3-pointers. Just know what it feels like to have the confidence in something that you can actually do well. And he's a good basketball player too. And I say that it's a lot easier than throwing the football, but I think a lot of it is just having the confidence in the mechanics.
Now we get to the other part of all this, right? I mean, you got a drive going. It's in the fourth quarter. You have it 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. You lose 3 yards running, and that's a whole nother area.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know how they could have been this bad running the football. I don't know how Dallas could have fixed it with two walkthroughs. It's not like Mike McCarthy said, okay, we're coming out on Wednesday. We're going full pads. We're going live, and we're going to get this thing fixed with a hard practice. And then, Thursday, we're going to grind on it again, not in pads, but we're going to grind on it again in shells, and we're going to get this thing fixed. He had 2 walkthroughs.
Yeah.
And suddenly they look like the 85 Bears. So Singletary loses 3 yards on the first drive of the fourth quarter. 2nd and 11. And, first of all, they try the neighbors run. He loses a yard. Then Singletary. So now you got 3rd and 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is after, on not a well-thrown ball, earlier in this drive, it wasn't a well-thrown ball, but the defensive back had no clue where the ball was. And Slayton goes down for it. You got to catch it. It hits him in the knee. Like, you got to get your hands on that and secure that ball for a big gain. But he had another opportunity on the 3rd and 14 at the Dallas 24. And that's like one-on-one, man. You're pressing the guy in, and based on the coverage, snapping it to the outside, and he comes off the defender and reaches out for the ball. Like, that has to be caught 10 out of 10 times in the National Football League.
Sure.
That ball can't go through your hands for an incompletion. And then you're settling for a field goal. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, yeah, he might have gotten tugged initially, but when the ball goes through your hands and hits you in the stomach, like, has to be caught.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole team thing. Do you think at the start of the third quarter, this was a conversation I heard people talking about, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to it, but it's 3rd and goal at the 8. I got to be honest with you, I wasn't crazy about the first down call. I thought they tried to maybe get a little too cute, and Jones is rolling out, and because I felt like they had the Cowboys on their heels. They hadn't faced a 3rd down on that drive. I mean, they went right down the field. I thought the first down call, they got a little cute. Second down, Singletary gets only 2 yards. Again, not able to run the ball. And usually when you fail in the red zone, it's because you can't run the ball. Last week, they ran the ball effectively. You have success in the red zone. When you're not running the ball well, you can't have success in the red zone. But then on the third down play, the guy, listen, Overshawn, who's a very good-looking young player, makes a heck of a tackle on Wan'Dale Robinson because I initially thought he's in. Now, there's a lot of people saying Daboll should have gone for it on 4th and goal at the 3. He said, I wanted to just take the points. You don't know how the rest of the game is going to play out. And I agreed with him first guessing. Look, it's 14-12. Your D has played pretty good. You had the one busted play that went for the 55-yard score. Take your 3 points, make it a 2-point game, kick the field goal. Others say, yeah, but the defense was playing well. Have them pinned in there. Count on your defense to stop them, and you're going to get good field position. I agreed with taking the points when you can take points, but I could see the argument the other way going for it.
Okay. So let's look at how this game played out. It was played within one score the entire game. The Giants kept hanging around, kept hanging around, kept hanging around. You had a kicker that now you can rely on. You're getting points. And you had the feeling at some point this offense could pop one. Getting stopped on 4th down with no points. And you're playing, it's still Dak Prescott, folks. And it's still CeeDee Lamb. Now, CeeDee Lamb had already gotten one, and you got a young safety who overruns something. Do you really want, and then here's the other thing. You could not stop Dallas when you needed to get the crucial stops. They kept the ball going. You eventually stopped them, either held them to a field goal or a punt, but they never really had bad field position when they just were backed up and just couldn't do anything. Other than I think it was the first drive was the best defensive stand field position-wise that they had. But you take points because the one thing that coaches have to have is a feel for the game, a tempo for how or a feel for the tempo of the game, the tempo. I have no problem with them going and taking the field goal because it just stayed within a one-score game. And that's the area, and they were controlling time of possession. They were controlling the game in terms of moving the ball, so they were going to always give themselves a chance. I'm not saying he didn't trust his defense, but I'm just saying his feel for the game, instinctively, he says, let me get these points. We're still within one-score game. And even to the last drive of the game, their last possession, they get a stop, field goal miss or misses, right? But it's still a one-score game. So he played it strategically the way he was supposed to play it. It wasn't, we're not playing the analytics game in every situation in football. I heard the people on TV say, well, the analytics folks said that, they had a greater percentage of getting it than they didn't. Well, they've got a pretty good analytics team with the Giants. And for some reason, the coach said, I want these points because I'm not taking a chance on anything going wrong, and I get nothing, and they get a chance to go up 2 scores.
Yeah, and this is why it was a team loss.
Yeah.
Because you kick the field goal, you make it 14-12. Now you want your defense, got some momentum. Hey, let's get a 3 and out, or maybe 1 first down, and then let's force a punt. So kick off into the end zone for a touchback. Now Prescott makes a great play under pressure and gets the ball to Ferguson, who turns what looked like it was going to be a sack or a throwaway
into a
16. No, it was 6 yards. Then Ferguson again, another catch for 6 yards. So immediately they're at the 42-yard line. And then a team that can't run the ball rips off 8 yards on you. Now it's 2nd and 2 at midfield, and Daboll rips up 9. So on 2 straight carries, they get 17 yards in rushing with a team that's not running the ball well at all this year. Then Elliott gets 5 more on 1st and 10 at the Giant 41-yard line. Then Lamb makes his only catch of the second half for 4 yards. They throw an incompletion, but Dallas is offside, 3rd and 11. Pass for Cooks is incomplete. But at the Giant 42-yard line, unlike any other team in the NFL, the Cowboys are actually in field goal range, and Aubrey makes a 60-yarder. Like, you can't allow 17 yards on back-to-back runs with a team that doesn't run the ball well. Where's your front there? So, I agreed with you, and I agreed at the time before it happened. Kick the field goal, make it 14-12. You're playing pretty good defensively. Get yourself a stop. Maybe they get a first down, force a punt. Here we go. But Dallas moved the ball easily down the field, and they did it with the tight end, and they did it with the running game. And that you just can't allow.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Daboll played the game from the way he saw it and the way they were operating. And again, he played it within 1 score. And that 1 score, the Giants could win the game with a touchdown, right? So he just wanted to just keep it within striking distance. And listen, it's a team loss. And I said this for the last few weeks, your good players have to be your good players, no matter who they're playing. Your role players have got to do their roles, meaning there's very little margin for error, be assignment conscious and attention to detail. I thought the back end of the Giants defense, though all those young guys, starting with Cordell Flott, they didn't have any blown assignments. That was good, but it was the missed opportunities. The 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 passes, the missed deep shot on a freebie, right? That's the difference in this game. You win, you beat the Dallas Cowboys. If you can go up at any point in this game after your first field goal, you're winning that game. Because Dallas was just kind of searching to find enough plays to win the game. Whereas you could probably point to at least 3 opportunities, maybe 4, where the Giants had legitimate chances to score. You can look at Dallas, and there's not one of those. Like, I don't think they missed an opportunity to score anywhere. They scored when they scored, but there was no other opportunities for them to go back and look at the tape and say, oh boy, this was going to go. Or if I would have hit this one, this was going to go. They didn't. The Giants role players did a good job of being their role players. Their best players were their best players. Kayvon Thibodeau was disruptive. Brian Burns, where it won't show up on the stat sheet, he made an impact on the game. But when you needed the plays, that's when your best players got to be your best players. You cannot give up 6, another 6, a 19. You cannot miss on a deep shot on a freebie, right? Your role players, ball hits you in the hand in some must-have situations or some very opportunistic situations, you got to be able to catch those. That's the difference, right? So to the fan base, they see what they see. You cannot change their mind. In that locker room, I think you look at it and say, yeah, we're getting better, but we got to win football games, because now they're playing too good in these types of games to come out on the losing end. Now, there may be some other games where they play good and they may be just outclassed. You can't play a team like the Dallas Cowboy team that is 2024. You can't play the way you played and not come out with a victory. Just as simple as that, because you had more opportunities to win the game than they did. Just as simple as that. They played a better game in terms of doing what they needed to do when they needed to do it. you had about 3 or 4 other opportunities to really win the football game. You can put on the film and say, this was one, this was one. Dallas can't do that. The 2 that Dallas got are the 2 that Dallas got. That was it. There was nothing else. You knew the kicker was going to be the kicker, but their scoring opportunity, touchdown opportunities, were what they were. And there's another thing, as we close that chapter, referees are an issue that game. And they weren't the reason the Giants lost. But I just want to say this. And again, and I have my the fan behavior as it relates to gambling and decisions made in games and calls made in games. This is why trust will erode in the integrity if they don't get some of these things fixed. You had a face mask called that originally was called the right way. The guy that Bellinger was blocking grabbed Bellinger by the face mask, pulled his face mask to come off the block. Flag flies. They consult each other, and then they say, it's a face mask on Daniel Bellinger. Even on the network, they showed the replay. Bellinger was the one that got his face mask pulled. Now, there's people up they have that replay assist. I need to know if they can call down and say, no, you got the right call, but you got the wrong guy.
So here's what I'm calling BS on the league. So the league official that was at the game said, face mask is not a reviewable play. And I get that. Just like holding's not a reviewable play because Ferguson clearly grabbed Cordell Flott by the back of the jersey as Flott's trying to get off his block to get in Dowdle's way on the 15-yard second and goal at the 15 that went for a touchdown.
Sure.
The flag was for an illegal man. I guess 2 officials threw a flag for a illegal man downfield. They discussed it. They said he wasn't illegal. I thought one of the flags would be for the hold because TV really clearly showed the hold. But that's not reviewable, and I understand that. And there's other plays. Let me just finish my point. There's other plays during the game that you could say, oh, that could have been a flag, that should have been a flag. It doesn't fall under review. And face mask does not fall under review. But here's where the league is going to have a credibility issue. I'm not saying that the play should have been reviewed for a face mask. And was it a face mask? Was it not? It was a face mask. The guys in the field botched up who the face mask was on. That should be something that upstairs, as the national TV audience is watching this, and everybody is in the stadium is watching it. Mike McCarthy threw his hands up. He knew it was against his guy because instead of it being 3rd and 3 on the opening drive of the game for the Giants, 15 yards from the spot of the foul, realize it's 1st and 10 at the 18 with all the momentum going your way. Now, I'm not saying that's why the Giants lost the game. This is a broader NFL issue.
Sure.
And again, you can tell me that face mask does not fall under replay, but I'm not saying it should. I'm saying that the tight end was
of the who the penalty was on.
Yes.
Like if you call a face mask, you see a face mask getting pulled, you throw your flag. No disputing that. There was a face mask. Call it on the right person. And that replay can say, hey, you got it right, but you got it wrong. Like there was a face mask. Everybody in the stadium saw that, but you called it on the wrong team, and the other guy's hands was nowhere near the defender's face. And that should be correct. But see, this is the thing when I say this, because people are betting on these games. And the integrity of this game is going to be called into question if you can get that wrong. And again, we just discussed what were the Giants' opportunities to win the game. This has nothing to do with that.
No, yeah, they could have had 1st and 10 at the 18 and still settle for a field goal.
Right.
So this is not a game decider.
You cannot get it that wrong and just walk away feeling good about it. That you just literally robbed the team of an opportunity because that's just gross incompetence. Like, how do you call it? You see it, you call it on the wrong team. I mean, there's
Right.
got to be some kind of checks and balances there. And then here's another one too. Like, if you want to go back to what the referees thought was an illegal man downfield, if two of them threw a flag, then two of them saw it the same way. But yet, somebody says, nah, it wasn't. You got a back judge, you got a side judge. Both of those guys threw their flag for illegal man downfield. And somehow somebody said, no, I don't know. I don't know if that's not a reviewable play either. But I'm just saying, league, you got to get this right, because the integrity of these games, especially now that you've opened up the floodgates of gambling, it's here to stay. Don't have people calling into question the integrity of your officiating when there are certain things that are just plain as day and you're missing them. And that face mask was one of those.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if there was miscommunication on the field where the guy who threw the flag said the tight end face mask, and they interpreted it as it was the tight end who committed the penalty. But it'd be one thing if Bellinger's hands were near his face, and then you could have said in the speed of the game they saw it and they threw a flag. But there's no way, in any way, shape, or form, that anyone could have looked at that play and said that Bellinger also committed a face mask penalty because his hands were never near the guy's face.
Nowhere.
So again, face mask does not fall under replay. I'm not saying that should be reviewable, but you can't get the wrong team on a penalty of that. Yeah. That's a 15-yard penalty. You can't call it on. You saw a face mask and somehow it got communicated improperly. Now, again, for you Cowboys fans that are just eavesdropping in on this Bleav in Giants podcast, or some of the Giant naysayers, look, spot the ball 1st and 10 at the 18-yard line. With the way the Giants functioned in the red zone last night, let's just call it a wash and say the Giants don't score a touchdown. They wound up getting a field goal on the drive anyway. Okay? So I'm saying it's a wash. Let's just say they got the 3 points that they would have gotten anyway. Forget about momentum and all that other stuff. Let's just say you just can't get that wrong. You can't, when the whole world could see that there was a face mask and it wasn't two guys. It was just one guy.
Yeah.
The Dallas bench reacts like they know it's on them, and you get the wrong team. And the NFL officials that are in the stadium, in the replay booth, and New York Command Center are all seeing the same replays. And you're telling me that they can't buzz down and go, no. Yeah, there was a face mask. You're right. We're not questioning that. You got the wrong team. Right. The tight end was face masked. He didn't commit a face mask. Yeah. Just get it right.
Right. And again, this has nothing to do with what the outcome of that drive would have been. This is more of the league is opening themselves up to people in questioning their integrity when you get it wrong, and you don't correct it, and it's as plain as day. That's all the point is. But from a Giants standpoint, I think we just laid out why they lost. They actually gave themselves more opportunities in this game than Dallas had. Not a feel-good loss, not a moral victory, but when you talk about a team in a game of inches, in a game of opportunities, I'd say Dallas took advantage of their 2 opportunities, and they relied on a great kicker. And the Giants missed opportunities and relied on a kicker who was very consistent for them. It's simple as that. The Giants had more opportunities to win the game than Dallas Cowboys had. Dallas took advantage of everything they needed to take advantage of, and their kicker came through for them. Their 2 touchdown opportunities, they made those. Giants probably had 3 other legitimate touchdown opportunities that they just did not take advantage of.
Yeah, you like the illegal shift. I mean, you get the illegal shift, and both guys aren't set.
Yeah,
Tracy's should have gotten into the end zone, but it still would have been 1st and goal at the 1, and you
yeah,
want to take your chances with that. Again, unlike the explosive offense of the Dolphins when Tua was healthy, or Josh Allen with the Bills, or obviously Mahomes, they don't get as many chances. So when you get those chances, you better hit a high percentage of them,
sure.
because they're not as plentiful as they are for some of the other teams, plain and simple.
Right. And that, in my opinion, when, we're hearing, how Brian Daboll should have done X, Y, and Z, I thought he called a really good game, a really good game. They missed opportunities. Now, you can debate what happened in the red zone, or what didn't, or what should have happened in the red zone. All I know is he dialed up plays that gave them great time of possession, and they had opportunities to score that they missed on. So for someone, or some people that say, well, he needs to be fired because he can't coach, I thought he coached a pretty good game. And I think he coached to his strengths, the player's strengths, and they just did not execute when they needed to execute.
Yeah, I
Simple
mean,
as that.
was that a bad play call on the Lawson jumping offside and a deep ball? Was
Right.
that a horrible play call? No, it was a good play call. They didn't execute it. Was it a bad play call with the game on the line and needing a touchdown to take the lead in 3rd and 6, and you got Wan'Dale Robinson isolated on the guy you want him isolated on, and the ball goes through his hands and hits him in the stomach? Is that a bad play call? I mean, and like you said, others during the course of the game that they didn't execute. And everybody across the board, right? Like, other than special teams, because the kicker made all of his field goals.
Mm-hmm.
Punt coverage was good. They got a nice punt return. They got a 22-yard punt return from Smith Marset. You still have the problem on the kickoff with Tracy fumbling it, and fortunately it went into Marset's hands. But other than that, I think the special teams gave you a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't cost you a chance to win. But offense, indeed, lack of running game. Pass pro, very good.
Really good.
But at the end of the game, when you only have seconds and no timeouts, and DeMarcus Lawrence and Parsons are out of the game.
Both out of the game.
You can't give up that pressure that you gave up on the first 2 downs before the ill-fated Hail Mary to Hyatt.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be able to better against the run. I went through the series after the field goal to make it 14-12. You allowed them to move right down the field. And again, that if the Cowboys get to the plus 42, 43, they are in field goal range. And you allowed 17 rushing yards on back-to-back plays. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think we've exhausted every opportunity.
Yeah. And listen, again, from a fan base facing perspective, this team is 1-3. From an internal locker room perspective, I think you realize you're good enough now. You're good enough, and you've got to take advantage of it. And you're going to be pissed with yourself. I'm different. Okay. And this is probably the least thing that today's players want to hear. But after that game, I would be so pissed. I wouldn't be outside. I wouldn't be out on the field lingering around
the jersey swap
yucking
thing.
it up. And again, this is a new era, and I'm just, from my mentality, as hard as you fought that game and the opportunities that you had to win it, I just would not be in the mood to freaking talk to anybody on the other team because we let you off the freaking hook. That's why I would run off the field and be in the locker room. I would have no time to talk to anybody or swap any jerseys. I'd be so ticked off. But that's not a knock on these kids. This is what they do: win, lose, or draw, and it is what it is. It's just, I just needed to say that because it just.
Yeah, we were doing the post game and watching all the players linger. Hey, listen, You lose a hard-fought, disappointing game. I got no problem with jogging across the field. Maybe it was your old college teammate, or maybe someone that you went to high school with or you didn't see before the game, and you want to just say, hey, good luck, good game, whatever. But the whole signing of jerseys, taking them off like it sucks.
It was a lot of people out there. I'm like, listen, you gotta hate losing more than you love winning. This is the time where you gotta learn how to win, folks. And again, I ain't beating y'all up over it because this is what you guys do. And the game is played for 60 minutes. When the clock hits 0, you're more than welcome to do whatever the hell you want. I'm just saying, from a mental standpoint, a winning mentality, I would just hate to be out there. I would hate losing more than winning. That's all. And if any of you guys listen to this and you happen to say, yeah, you kind of got a point there, then just let it be. Let that be who you guys are. I get it, man. But
I was thinking about something. I was thinking about like the 85 playoff game against the Bears. I can't imagine Carl Banks and Wilbur Marshall swapping 58s.
Nah, man. No.
It's a different world.
Yeah, and again, it's who the league is right now. I would love nothing more than to have those guys hate losing more than they love winning. Meaning, and you lose a game like this and you let those SOBs off the hook, I ain't shaking your hand, man. I'm like, get out my face, you lucky son of a guns, whatever. But, the game was played. They had 60 minutes to play it. Both teams played it. So if this is what they want to do after the game, that's on them. But I would love to see a little different mentality. But that's me, and I don't play.
No, it's a different era, right? It's a completely different era. All right, we'll be back next week for a preview of the Seahawks. Seattle has a really intriguing game this weekend. They're going to play at Detroit. They've won at Detroit each of the last 2 years in some wild, high-scoring games. So it'll be a short week for Seattle having to play on the road on Monday Night Football, but looking forward to that game this weekend, and we'll get a chance for a little break from all of this. But team-wide loss, you look at the offense, defense, missed opportunities, and that's what gets the Giants to 1-3. And I understand why the fans are pissed. Like I said on the post game last night, it's one thing when you played against some Cowboys teams and you knew you were completely overmatched from a talent standpoint from start to finish. But when you lose a game, because this doesn't look like a 12-win Cowboys team that we've seen over the last previous 3 years. That's what makes it even more frustrating. When are we going to beat these guys? 14 and 15? But anyway, you get a chance to do it on Thanksgiving down there.
Yeah, and, DJ, you just got to, start hitting your three-pointers. Your layups and mid-range is good. You got to get that calibrated. And it's not, folks, you can listen to what you want to on TV. And I'm acknowledging that DJ has to make these plays, but it ain't because he don't have the arm strength to do it. He's got to trust his mechanics. It's simple. And I think it's mental. More so than physical. And it's, if it's mechanically flawed, it's because he's not trusting in that. And he's trying to place the ball. So, you got to give yourself a chance on those types of plays, DJ. It's just simple as that, because you played too well in all the other phases of the offense. You ran the offense beautifully, but just missed opportunities. So go get a basketball, just shoot some three-pointers this weekend, just start to feel good about, your mechanics.
All right, Carl, enjoy the weekend off. We'll be back late next week, and we'll do a preview of the Giants and the Seahawks as we end it. How do we like to end it?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Bleav in Giants.